Hi, art historians. We are all done with week 3, so here is coming to you your week 3 summary video. So for this week, we covered 2 modules, as per usual, where we studied more about ancient Egypt, learning about the Middle Kingdom, the Amarna period, the New Kingdom, and then any new research and advancements that have been found. And then we covered the Indus Valley, which included Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, and then we covered the Aegean chapter, which is essentially the precursor to ancient Greece. So for this week, for quiz number 4, I wanted to cover a few potential mishaps some of you may have found as you were taking that quiz. Remember, it is extremely important to keep note that tombs are really only geared for the afterlife, while temples are geared more towards religion. So the separation of that does occur within ancient Egypt, but they often occur simultaneously as well. So just pay attention to what particular title is being utilized so you know how to reference that piece of artwork. And then we also wanted to make sure that we are acknowledging the fact that in the Amarna period, there is certainly a lot of change that is happening in ancient Egypt, and we want to make sure that we know that the common artistic qualities are exaggerated, naturalistic features. And we are not seeing a lot of geometric features, right? More androgynous and curved lines in the Amarna period. This also includes a lack of idealism, technically speaking, that we saw before and after, as well as that really like traditional European, Egyptian style. Then when we look at quiz 5, let's talk about some other maybe potential mishaps we might have encountered in regards to those multiple choice questions. We had our lyre player, which we would consider abstract and stylized. And so these two words, abstract usually means lacking naturalistic detail, and same kind of goes for stylized as well. So because of that, we are not really seeing any realism here, and there really isn't always a representation of mythology within works of the ancient Aegean chapter, and they are not usually clothed whenever we see those sculptures. And then last but not least, our dancing girl. We want to show that it is everyday life and entertainment. There's no evidence that this piece is connected to religion. It's definitely not a building, so it can't be architecture. And there's no weaponry, so it might most likely is not related to militaries. So that would be the reason why you would land with a assumed theme of everyday life and entertainment. So I hope that clears up any questions you might have had in those multiple choice examples from those quizzes. And let's talk about some discussion that we had this week. I really love all of the amazing details you all found. I think spending time taking a look at these works of art for very extended time gives us more of an insight into detail, into some smaller scale little moments that you might not have realized were there unless you spent that time looking at it. And so that's why looking at this discussion is so special for me, because I feel like it's a way to really embrace all of the amazingness of the artwork that we study this week. And I really enjoy how many of you are noticing, again, those little small details. So first, let's talk about that lyre player. Hannah had wrote that this design is simple, but the meaning gives it the importance and its beauty. And so that is absolutely an aspect about art history that you'll see over and over again, is that the context behind the work gives it the meaning and the reasoning for why we're looking at it today. When thinking about our Nefertiti bust, Chloe had written that it looks like real skin, and I think it is so incredible when those sculptors are really able to achieve that sense of realism. I mean, it is truly unbelievably lifelike, to quote Chloe. Of course, Bethany and Jessie also echoed these sentiments about Nefertiti, and she is just absolutely stunning. That bust is a really cool history to it. I think I commented sometimes in this discussion about this, but the story goes is that this piece was found in half kind of finished form within the artist's workshop itself, and so that's why we have that blank eye. But the pure beauty of it and the time and attention of care given to this piece, she is compared to almost like a very heavy tulip on the edge of a very slender stalk. And I don't think there's any better description for how beautiful Nefertiti is. And so I noticed that Bethany also had pointed out the fact that something about it makes her feel a little bit off. And that's because there's no real sense of proportions without having the rest of the body, and the fact that it's unfinished. And so I thought that was a really good point as well. So great job there. And next, when thinking about the funerary mask of Agamemnon, Jonah Lynn had wrote that it almost seems very relaxed and like a happy smirk. And I love that you were able to find the very small points of emotion with an otherwise very kind of assumed blank expression on the face in terms of the portrait. And so it's really awesome you were able to really connect those facial expressions to that emotion in this piece as well. And then finally we have Tori, who was writing a little bit more about the TA portrait. And she wrote that it seems steady, strong, and experienced. And this is not a frail or diminished by age ruler. This person, this TA, she is still so strong and has such a presence of authority. And in just a portrait, that is a really incredible thing to convey to one's viewers. And so it's so interesting to see how these artists were able to do so. So great job with the discussion this week, folks. As you can see, our lovely Sarah Eller, our teaching intern, also jumped in and made some comments there. So keep those really wonderful discussions going. They're really important to this course. And finally, I want to conclude with some reminders and some updates. So first and foremost, the self-guided explorations, I provided you a template in announcements, and we need to use that going forward or I will not grade your work, okay? I had mentioned when I first put this up that resubmissions were not necessary, but to please use it going forward, so I am expecting that. If I commented it on your work or submission that you need to resubmit with the template, no points lost for lateness, but I will not grade until I see that template properly uploaded. So if you see those comments, please go ahead and make sure you are using the proper outline in order to submit your work. I also went through today and sent little reminders as well, so please just go ahead and fix that up so that way I can get your grades in. Now, next thing I want to discuss is the fact that these discussions are not optional, folks. I need everybody to be responding to the discussion. I need to see people commenting on others' posts so we can get that conversation happening despite us being all at a distance. Again, not an optional part of this class. This really is what attendance is in regards to our online modalities. So I need to see everybody responding to that discussion post every single week. You will continue to receive zeros if you do not participate. That being said, your notes sheets are also not optional for this class, though there are a certain amount of lower grades that will drop at the end of the course. That does not mean that we are just not doing them. That means that maybe if we don't receive the full point value for a particular amount of those notes submissions, those will be dropped off your final grade. But it is really important part of the course to be taking those notes, so please make sure you're doing so every week. And as I repeated every single week and in almost every video so far, I need one note sheet per core unit. If next week's units have 7 notes or 7 core works, I need to see 7 note sheet. If the next unit only has 5, then I need to see 5 note sheets. If you do not have these submissions there, it will be graded as a 0 because this really is a pass-fail grade. I've been giving partial credit here up until now, but we're about the halfway point of our course at the conclusion of this week. So I really need everybody to make sure that you're submitting the proper amount of note sheets so you can get the proper amount of credit. Keeping in mind your self-guided explorations are also point value up to you, how much you want to earn, but I would consider doing a little bit every single week, every single unit. It's good not to fall behind. And this is also a way where you get to control a lot of your own learning. You get to choose what resources you want to interact with, and I absolutely love reading through all those responses. So amazing work so far with that. Last thing I need to mention is the current grade calculation worksheet. Now that I have all of your work graded for week 3, I'm going to ask that you please fill that out and turn this in before Wednesday night. I want everybody to go through and just tally up the points that you have earned so far based on what you're seeing in the grade book. Do not worry about that final grade. We are just merely calculating, so that way I can ensure that everybody is on the same exact page in regards to where they stand with their grades in class so far, what points they're earning, what point final value they're aiming for, and how you're going to accomplish that. So we're going to do this one more time during week 7 so that way we know how much work to do week 8. But folks, if I do not see this turned in by Wednesday night, I am going to be emailing you nonstop until I get that submission. I want to make sure, again, we're all on the same page in regards to our progress in class, not only just because it's a really good thing to do as a checkpoint, but also because this class format is definitely different from a different class you might have taken taken at Lindenwood thus far, or another college, or maybe you're returning back to school and this is just so unusual. So this is a really great moment to make sure we are all, again, on the same page. That is something that is so important to me, especially as I teach here from New Jersey. I want to check in with my students and make sure everybody feels comfortable with their progress so far. After you complete that sheet and turn it in on Canvas, there's a whole separate module right in between weeks 3 and 4. You cannot miss it. If you have any questions or you want to discuss, please let me know and I'll make time throughout the week or during my office hours. So just reach out as needed and I can provide whatever time you need to go over anything that you may have questions on or recommendations for progress for the remaining half of class. All right, folks, again, if you have any questions, please reach out to katecarpino@lindenwood.edu. I do my best to respond back as soon as possible. If there's any delay in communication, sending a little reminder email of, hey, hope this didn't get lost in the midst of your inbox is never, no harm, no foul, never a bother. So please remind me if I happen to miss a message. It is not intentional. It is just that I have an enormous amount of students. So I want to make sure I respond to everybody. So please feel free to reach out again if you're not getting the response that you need. But anyway, I hope everybody enjoys learning a little bit more about the artwork for week 4. We are at the halfway point of class, and I will see you all very soon. Bye, everybody.